Welcome to RPTV Weekly News Show. My name is Murphy Brown and my co-hosts are Fred Alvarado and Jessica Mvutu. Jessica joins us today. We present news that impacts on Regent Park and other surrounding communities located in the downtown east communities of Toronto.
In this episode, we present you the following news stories for the week of October 12th of 2021.
The first Community Benefits Learning Session was held on September 28th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Entitled Community Learning Session 101, the event was a collaboration between Regent Park Neighborhood Association, the Regent Park Community Benefits Coalition, Toronto Community Housing Corporation, and Tridel Builders. As many residents know, Tridel Builders was the selected TCHC development partner for Phase 4 and 5 of the Regent Park redevelopment. What many people may not know is that Tridel Builders has pledged $26.8 million in community benefits. Therefore, the aim of the Community Benefits Learning Series is to provide residents with an opportunity to know what community benefits are and how residents can get involved in deciding how the $26.8 million will be spent. The first of the three-part session entitled Community Benefits 101 started with a welcome and a land acknowledgement from the facilitators Pavitra Sulanthar and Walid Kogali. Following the land acknowledgement, Kumsa Baker from the Toronto Community Benefits Network explained a little about his organization and gave a quick overview about what the community benefits are. According to Kumsa, the Toronto Community Benefits Network is a coalition made up of 115 members, including community organizations, labor organizations, and social enterprises. As we know, there are a lot of developments happening in Toronto, whether it is private or public projects. We see construction activities happening not only in the downtown core, but also across the city. With that, we also understand there are a lot of potential impacts as well as opportunities for the community to benefit from these developments, Kumsa said. According to Kumsa, community benefits are additional physical, social, and economic benefits for the local community that are leveraged from major infrastructure and urban development projects. One of the key tools that the Toronto Community Benefits Network developed from our learning is from the Indigenous communities, who have had a lot of history of resources development projects, is around their work in developing community benefits agreements, also known as impact benefit agreements. These are legally binding, enforceable contracts that set forth specific benefits for an infrastructure or development project. Community benefit agreements are usually negotiated between a developer or infrastructure builder and a community group or coalition. Benefits are defined through an inclusive community engagement process. At the session, CUMSA guided the attendees on the definition of community benefits. The community benefits ensure equitable economic opportunities that promote economic inclusion for people from historically disadvantaged communities and equity-seeking groups. Contribute to the development of a system of training and workforce development programs that can enable economic inclusion. Contribute to sustainable communities with neighborhood and environmental improvements and investments. Ensure clear commitments, targets, monitoring, and accountability from all parties to deliver on community benefits through the negotiating of a community benefits agreement. According to CUMSA, the approach is to ensure that the community has an equal state as a stakeholder in the community to be engaged not only with the government, but also with developers, unions, and local businesses. Examples from across Toronto that have included a community benefits program are Eglinton Crosstown Light Rail Transit, Finch West Light Rail Transit and Community Hub, Woodbine Casino Expansion, West Park Healthcare Center, York University Campus Expansion Projects, and City of Toronto-led infrastructure and development projects community benefits framework. Will Mendez from TCHC gave examples of community benefits from phases 1 to 3 in Regent Park starting from 2003 when they secured Daniels Corporation as the developer. Many types of benefits were brought to Regent Park, including over 600 jobs were secured by Regent Park residents. Athletics field, Daniel Spectrum, increased community service space, aquatics center, affordable housing, affordable home ownership, business incubation space, job training programs, and funding of hundreds of community development and social initiatives. Other examples from across other TCHC revitalizations are, there are 6 revitalizations underway within TCHC and with site-specific benefits which range from scholarships, training, employment to business incubation, community spaces, and new facilities. Over 1,200 tenants have secured job opportunities. These agreements range from a percentage of jobs to specific targets aligned with community needs. According to Will Mendez, a lot of learning came out of phases 1 to 3 Regent Park revitalization community benefits. Community leader Ibrahim Afra showed a video that spoke about the making of the Daniel Spectrum Art Center in Regent Park. Ibrahim emphasized that the building of this center came about as a collaboration between the Toronto Community Housing Corporation as the landowner and Daniels Corporation as the developer. Daniels took the leadership in raising private funding to build this building.
Partnership really runs through the entire story of Regent Park revitalization. The partnership between Daniels and Toronto Community Housing was the starting point, and there have been many, many partners that have come to the table and have really made a contribution.
Following Will Mendez's presentation, Walid Kogali talked about the principles of revitalization and gave a brief history of the Regent Park Community Benefits Coalition between the years of 2018 to 2020, ending with the decision to have the Regent Park Community Benefits Coalition under the umbrella of the SDP as a way of monitoring and enforcing a community benefits agreement. After the breakout rooms, Regent Park residents shared their thoughts about what they discussed. There was conversations about their favorite moments at Regent Park, the different events, meeting people and making connections, what they learned about the Daniel Spectrum video, access to jobs. They also had a conversation about the people who are not engaged in anything, hanging all day in the park, and how the community benefits could help these people to engage and be productive. Concerns of security and the lack of security, supporting youth, the youth to be engaged in the community in terms of jobs, parking challenges, community programs to support the families. Finally, the meeting ended on how Regent Park residents can get involved. The second session of the Community Benefits Learning Series will happen on October 20th, and the third session will take place on November 9th. Both meetings will happen over Zoom, and each session will end with a raffle prize. If you want to get involved, visit regentparkcoalition.ca to sign up for updates. If you are interested in getting involved, please write to rpna.info, that's rpna.info@gmail.com for more details.
Community Working Group Cuts Access to Sports project, as reported at the SDP Planning Committee meeting of October 6, 2021. The role of the SDP Planning Committee is to set the agenda for decision-making items that have made at the SDP stakeholders table and deal with issues related to the SDP. On Thursday, October 6, 2021, the SDP Planning Committee met to deliberate on final issues related to this evening's first deep dive session. The deep dive is a unique consensus decision-making model designed by the SDP Planning Committee to determine how $500,000 yearly of city funding towards the Regent Park Social Development Plan will be spent. The SDP Planning Committee meeting of October 6, 2021 was hosted by Lindsay Jackson of the Social Development Table and Kendrick, a resident of Regent Park. The following is a report of the meeting. After a land acknowledgement led by Denise Sudin O'Leary and approval of the agenda, the meeting officially began with an announcement led by Joel Klassen and Walid Kogali, who are co-chairs of the Community Building Working Group. According to Joel and Walid, it was announced by the Community Building Working Group recently decided not to continue the hiring of an Access to Sports project coordinator. The Access to Sports project was one of the SDP projects that was funded by the City of Toronto in 2020. The aim of the project was to hire a coordinator to design a feasibility study on models of sports engagement and develop an action plan to provide sports and life skills initiatives to youth in Regent Park. The deadline for the project was May 31st, 2022, and as of October 7, 2021, no one has yet been hired for the project. According to Joel, the Community Building Working Group failed to identify a strong candidate for the position and decided not to continue the hiring, as the working group does not see a productive path to completing the project by the end date of May 31st. Instead, Joel and Walid presented a plan to the SDP Planning Committee, recommending that the $48,000 in project funds for the Access to Sports project be reallocated to a group that had submitted a sports project requested to the SDP for the funding for 2021, under the stipulation that the awarded group will have to withdraw their current proposal request. The group will not be eligible for funding in this deep dive round. Joel assured the planning committee that he has consulted with the city, and the city has agreed that the funds can be redirected to another sport-oriented project that has applied to the SDP deep dive funding allocation. After presenting their plan, committee members were given an opportunity to respond. Ibrahim Afra argued that instead of relocating the funds to a sports group, that the funds should be added to the city funding, increasing it to $548,000 for 2021. Michael felt that the plan was fine as long as they identified the group before the next deep dive session on October 14, 2021. Inez Garcia questioned why, after almost 10 months have passed, did the group wait until now to tell us that the project wasn't on track? Although there was no formal voting or decision made at the meeting, tacit approval was given to the Community Building Working Group's plan. In a follow-up email to the SDP Planning Committee, Joel writes, "The community building co-chairs are convening a meetings of sport-oriented deep dive applicants. With input from the interested groups, co-chairs will, as soon as possible, make a recommendation to the city's community funding unit for allocation of the Access to Sports funding." For more questions or more information on this item, please contact Joel Klassen at jklassen@ysm.ca or Walid Kogali Ali at walid.k@gmail.com.
The first session of the second annual SDP Deep Dive took place over Zoom on October 7, 2021. It is estimated that 35 selected representatives, SDP stakeholders table, were present along with invited guests. The deep dive is a unique consensus decision-making model designed by the SDP Planning Committee to determine how $500,000 of yearly city funding towards the Regent Park Social Development Plan will be spent. Although any resident, organization, or group residing in or serving Regent Park could submit a proposal to the deep dive, the purpose of the SDP funding is to engage or meet the needs of residents. The only other established criteria for proposing a project was that the funding request had to be aligned with one of the 4 priority areas of the SDP. These areas are: 1, communications, the aim of which is making information accessible; 2, community building, the aim of which is to create welcoming spaces for residents of all backgrounds and income levels to come together; 3, economic development and employment working group, the goal of which is to increase employment rates and entrepreneurial opportunities for local residents; 4, safety, to create a safe space for everyone. This year, a total of 23 community proposals amounting to $1,469,150 was received for funding of the 2021 deep dive. 4 proposals were received related to communication. 10 proposals were received related to community building. 3 proposals were related to economic development and employment, and 4 proposals were related to safety. 1 proposal did not indicate its connection to the working group. The lowest request was for the amount of $10,000, while the highest project request was in the amount of $500,000. The project request for $500,000 was asked to revise their proposal. At the deep dive session, representatives for each of the projects were asked to present a 2-minute explanation of their project. The next session of the deep dive will be held to review the proposals for alignment. The next deep dive session is scheduled for October 14th, 2021. It is expected that projects that fail to receive funding for 2021 will be considered for 2022 in a process that will begin in March.
And today we welcome our new RPTV reporter, Jessica Mvutu. And she has a story on a Toronto teacher who was found not guilty of negligence in connection with the drowning of a teenage student at Algonquin Park in 2017.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I'm reporting for RPTV News. A Toronto teacher was found not guilty in the drowning of teenage student Jeremiah Perry during a canoe trip on July 4th, 2017. Jeremiah was 15 years old when he drowned during the school trip. Jeffries Collegiate Institute teacher Nicholas Mills was charged with criminal negligence causing death. During a virtual hearing on Wednesday morning, Ontario Supreme Court Justice Maureen Forstell and the conduct of Nicholas Mills, the teacher who organized and led the field trip, did not reach the level of moral blameworthiness necessary for criminal liability. Jeremiah Perry, who was one of the 32 students on the canoe trip, was not wearing a life jacket when he drowned in Trout Lake. Nicholas Mills planned the excursion where Jeremiah Perry, along with more than a dozen other students, did not pass the swim test that was required by Toronto Catholic District School Board to take part in the excursion. Students who failed the swim test were supposed to be given swimming lessons and take part in a second assessment in the court heard. Those who failed the second time were to be offered an alternate outing. In delivering the verdict, Ontario Superior Court Justice said that while Mills made individual decisions that were justifiable under the circumstances, such as allowing weak swimmers to take part in the trip, his conduct fell below the standard of care when he failed to assess the risk at the swim site. Prosecutors alleged during trial that Mills ignored safety rules in planning and carrying out the multi-day excursion, and allowed Jeremiah Perry, who they argued couldn't swim, to go in the water without a life jacket. Defense lawyers, meanwhile, said the Crown failed to provide beyond a reasonable doubt that Perry couldn't swim, which they said is necessary to establish negligence. Ontario Superior Court Justice Maureen Forstall found that Mills' decision leading up to the incident, including allowing weak swimmers to take part in the trip, were justifiable under the circumstances. However, a judge found his conduct fell below the standard of care when he failed to reassess the risk at the swim site. Given the conditions there, a reasonable teacher would have foreseen the risk of a student drowning, she said. Mills testified in his own defense during the trial and acknowledged he did not follow some rules imposed by the Toronto District School Board because he believed them to be impractical or unnecessary. Some of the measures would have made it impossible to carry out the trip at all, he told Virtual Court. The teacher maintained, however, that safety requirements he imposed went beyond what's commonly done in the private sector. The Crown alleged Mills bypassed some rules because he felt he knew better. In a statement released after this decision, the Toronto District School Board said, "Today's verdict now allows the school board to complete the final piece of its investigation progress in the TDSB's internal review of Perry's death. In the meantime, the staff member has been on leave and not been paid by the TDSB." The statement read. The school board added that 4 years later, Perry's loss is still felt deeply by those that loved and knew him.
And now to continue with Jessica Mvutu, who has a report of community groups welcoming Appeal District School Board decision to develop an anti-Islamophobia strategy because they say the plan will help make schools safer for Muslim staff and students.
The Peel District School Board approves of an anti-Islamophobia strategy with approval from community groups. The motion calling for an anti-Islamophobia strategy was brought forward and passed at a Peel District School Board meeting on September 30th by Trustee Noka Dekrub. The plan is being put in place with the intention of making schools safer for Muslim staff and students. In a video posted to Twitter, Noka Dekrub said, "It is meant to include the delivery of mandatory anti-Islamophobia training to all staff, accountability measures, and regular communication with the broader community."
We will be looking at mandatory anti-Islamophobia training provided to all staff. We've also done a number of different equity initiatives around culturally responsible delivery of the curriculum.
Asiya Khan, Manager of Education Programs at the National Council of Canadian Muslims, said, "As for mandatory anti-Islamophobia training for staff, such education is a way to eradicate misunderstanding around Islam, to bring in diverse narratives about Muslim communities, and to make sure educators have the tools they need to ensure that classrooms are inclusive. If Islamophobia is left unchecked, it can lead to acts of violence," she added. "Our schools aren't immune to those realities." The strategy was put into effect following the killing, motivated by anti-Muslim hate, of 4 members of a Muslim family in London, Ontario early this year, and the fatal stabbing of a volunteer caretaker at an Etobicoke mosque while he was sitting outside the front doors of the International Muslim Organization. A June 2020 report on the board found its administrators were ill-prepared to make changes to deal with racism, specifically anti-Black racism, and that Islamophobia was a concern. In a video posted to Twitter, Dekrub said, "The strategy will focus on education, building understanding, centering student voice, and valuing lived experiences. It is meant to include the delivery of mandatory anti-Islamophobia training to all staff, accountability measures, and regular communication with the broader community. The Peel District School Board is the first board in the Greater Toronto Area to implement this anti-Islamophobia strategy. The group said the board has a responsibility to raise awareness, build understanding, ensure that schools are welcoming to all staff and students, including those of Muslim faith, and deliver public education in a culturally sensitive manner.
And now we continue with COVID-19 and vaccination news. Faith Community Virtual Town Hall meeting on COVID-19 vaccination awareness. You and your community members are invited to attend a virtual town hall entitled Faith and COVID-19 Vaccine on Thursday, October 14th from 6 to 7 p.m. The interactive session features Associate Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Vincia Tuve, and panelists representing 6 faith groups who will be on hand to address questions and other insights on vaccine uptake. You can join the Zoom meeting on the link below your screen. If you are born in 2009 or earlier, you can go to the COVID-19 mobile immunization clinic. Get your first and second dose. Walk-ins are welcome and OHIP are not required. This will be at YMCA 20 Grosvenor Avenue on Thursday, October 14th at 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will be a Black community wellness check-ins and vaccine clinic. Check your blood pressure, find healthcare providers taking new patients, connect to mental health supports, learn about diabetes, nutrition, early cancer detection, and get a COVID-19 vaccine. Flu shots on November 13th. This will take place on Saturday, October 13th and Saturday, November 13th from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Wellesley Community Center. This is open to those born in 2009 or earlier. No OHIP is required. Regent Park Community Health Center will have a COVID-19 testing clinic. If you have any symptoms of COVID-19 or were in close contact with someone with COVID-19, come get tested. People with no immigration status and no fixed address are welcome. Bring your OHIP card if you have one, but it's not required. This will take place on starting October 13th, 2021, every Wednesday from 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at 40 Oak Street, Toronto. You can call Regent Park Community Health Center at 416-364-2261 for more information or to book an appointment. You can get free mental health first aid training for adults. Join the movement, Community Cares for Adults, brought to you by the Regent Park Safety Network, led by Amanda Coombs, BA in Psychology, Mental Health, First Aid. This will take place on October 16 to 17, 2021, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 246 Sackville Street. To register, contact moprp@gmx.com or call Ines at 647-670-1628. Free child minding, priority for TCHC Regent Park residents, and free breakfast and lunch will be provided.
And that's all for today's show. Thank you for listening. My name is Murphy Brown, and my co-hosts are Fred Alvarado and Jessica Mvutu from our headquarters at Focus Media Arts Center. Thank you for watching and see you next week.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the little notification bell so you never miss out on any of our content. If you'd also like more, you can find us on our other social media platforms. And if you want even more, you can look at our website.
Bye.